This is March 2024. We're on the final third of this Rotary year, as our director Jeremy pointed out to us during the Zoom information call just yesterday. I don't know if Jeremy's on the call, but I see his successor in our director-elect Patrick Eakes on the call, as well as several other zone leader dignitary type individuals. Thank you all for being here. I don't know if there's anybody from zone 34 that made it. I just wasn't paying enough attention to see who came into the room. So if you're here, welcome. I apologize for not pointing you out specifically. I just want to do a brief recap of the last, not just the last month's call, but the last couple of months' call. And you're obviously welcome to always view the recordings of the past discussions. They're in the Dropbox folder. If you can't find the link, send me a message. I'll make sure that you get it. But for today, without going into a lot of detail, it's pretty simple to recap what we've been discussing. We've been talking about creating an actual template that, we as ICAs for our districts can follow our efforts, track our efforts as we build new clubs, which also in turn causes us to be accountable for our efforts in this role. And if you'll remember on the last call, there were half a dozen people that said, you know what, I'd like to be involved in that. And so what I and those 6 people have done, or some variation of them, over 3 different occasions in the last month since our last call, have gotten together and started to hammer this thing out. And, last year, Zone 33 enjoyed being number 1 in North America in new club growth. So instead of calling this innovative clubs, and while that's not wrong, we being those half dozen people started to build this thing that I'm going to throw up on the screen and share with you as a new club tracker, so that it's not just following and keeping track of your efforts in the innovative club region, but all new clubs, just like we report monthly with that Google sheet. The standalones, the satellites, the companion impact, whatever you want to call it, it applies to all these, or at least it's intended to. So while I throw this thing up here, what I would hope at least part of our discussion tonight could be about what this thing looks like. Does it say the right things? What should it say that it doesn't? What doesn't it say that it should? That sort of thing. And this is very fluid, obviously, folks. And my original plan was, hey, let's make this thing pretty. And then we had a pretty version and we tore into it one night on Zoom call, and I just ruined the whole thing. So while this isn't very pretty, hopefully it's substantive and meaningful. And this is what we've got hammered out so far. And I don't mean to read it to you, but this is the first time that some of you all have seen it. The idea was to build steps so that, in the words of Jeremy Hurst, if you have lots of clubs and efforts that are in the yellow, if you will, on that Google sheet, how yellow are they? How long have they been yellow? How close to changing from yellow to green are they? Or are they more on the blue side? What is it that is necessary to push this thing over that hump? How many of those do you have going on? Are you really keeping close enough track? It's those kinds of things that we have in mind. So allow me to be still for a minute, as my mother would tell me to do. And let me open it up to all of you. What is it you see? What is it you like? What is this thing telling you that you want to highlight? What is it that you don't like about it? Those sorts of things. And if you would, just either unmute yourself and speak out, or raise your hand if you'd feel more ruly that way. As you can see, step 1 is laying the foundation, as you would expect, getting started. And for different districts, that might mean different things. You may have step 1 done all the time. I don't know. You may be a committee of 1, in which case you have to do step 1 every time you intend to embark on something new. And I would encourage the other folks that were on this template team, if you will, to unmute themselves and speak out as to why we chose some of the steps that we did. And if you don't volunteer, I'll name names. I'll tell everybody who it was. If you were paying attention last month, you already know who that was. But I see some of you from that group that are on this call. So assuming you have a team in step one, maybe now you need to figure out how you're going to get it to where the rubber meets the road. Respond to the invitations of clubs in distress or clubs that want to explore different things so that you can meet them where the Rotarians are, so to speak, and get a better feel for what kind of mechanism is going to work best in those certain circumstances. And that's kind of where you move into 3. And then 4 is taking it out of your team's hands and putting it into that club's team's hands so that it can spread the word and lay its own groundwork and get the momentum built so that by the time you get to the end, you're actually just crossing the rest of the T's and dotting the I's and filling in the paperwork, sending it in, come back, and the fiesta begins. Tracy, I see your hand up, sir. Please feel free to contribute.
I think part of it maybe to include on here, especially with the clubs, is identify or, who is their target audience? What are they looking to target? If they have a traditional club and they're looking to do something that's more of a happy hour, or is it strictly, like a assisted living facility? Is it going to be, a impact online only? What is their, with laying the foundation, what is their target audience? Because that's going to ask, figure out what we need to do to mobilize the team and lay in that foundation. It's like starting.
Great idea.
Doing a SWOT analysis basically of it and identifying who the target is.
Yep. Great stuff.
Along those lines, I think one of the first things you got to do is identify the opportunities that you actually have. In other words, you could use a demographic tool that Rotary has that you can actually zone in on a community and see how many Rotarians are in that community, look at their incomes, the population, and then if you see an opportunity there that maybe a club isn't even aware of, then you can go to club and talk to them about that opportunity, and if they're going to have people in that community that aren't going to necessarily want to meet when they meet, and identify what might work for them. I mean, example of that is in our district, we've got age 55 and over communities that we've identified. They're not going to meet at the same time as the host club normally. They're going to meet on their own. But some of those clubs don't even think about that. So going to them with the opportunity first and identifying specific communities out there that don't have Rotary in them.
Great. That's great stuff, Cliff. Let me throw this out there. That we, the half dozen, have spent probably 4 hours together over 3 occasions. What we didn't want this to be is a carbon copy of the steps on how to build an impact or companion club on one end of the spectrum. On the other end, we didn't want to replicate the kinds of things that the traditional membership growth path takes you down, as far as laying out necessarily all the same tools that are used in like a membership summit binder, if you will. Now, some of those efforts absolutely are important, and there's been suggestions that maybe we put those tools on there. But if this thing is new and it needs to be new, then we don't want it to look like something that there already is. Does that make sense? Does anybody else have any thoughts that they would use to throw out there?
Part of it, I would say, is laying the foundation is finding out, what type of club is necessary in that area. Is it a traditional Rotary club? Is it an impact? Is it a companion? Is it a satellite? Is it a impact only? Is it a, interest-based, what is the club that you're looking to do there? Because that's going to have a effect on how you address it.
I will suggest this to you, Tracy. That middle bullet under step 3 says Exactly that. So what you're saying is maybe that needs to be earlier in the equation. Is that fair?
Well, I mean, not identify the opportunity, but is identify what type of club you're doing.
That's right here under
Yeah.
step 3.
Okay. The options, but if that's going to be
I
laying
think
the foundation.
I don't think you can make the decision as to what type of club you're going to make it until you have people there that are interested and they identify what they want out of a club. So I think my opinion is that the members need to identify and decide what type of club they're going to be, and we shouldn't be dictating that. We can give them the options, but they should select.
How about we split the difference and put up here near the top, prepare to provide the options available.
Hey, Sean, just so
Not
you're
to
aware
put-
that Sean, so you're aware, there's a couple of comments that are going on in the side panel here. Folks are asking for this document, maybe creating a Google Doc
Sure.
out of it for full collaboration.
Yep, absolutely.
And I think, you know, rather than reinventing a wheel, we can add the rotary.org link that's in this side panel to that document.
Great. I'm not even going to try to do that on the fly, but I'm absolutely willing to make it available to everybody.
Yeah, just wanted to call it out.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I actually had I had the participants list up. I was letting people in the room and I didn't have the chat window open. So thank you for that.
Yep.
Anybody else? Thoughts? I mean, there were some pretty smart people in that group, but I can't believe it that we were all so smart that that's the only problem that we've got with that flow sheet, right? Maybe let's hear from some of the folks that served on that task team, if you will. Anybody want to throw something out? Rich or Al
Sure.
or Andy?
Sure. Step 1. We talk about building the team, doing the homework, but I think part of it is also kind of creating the buzz, creating the excitement, creating what could be without putting a stake in the ground as to what we're going to pursue. Get the excitement up. Seems to be maybe a step 1 within the step 1.
All right. I'll buy that. Al, please go ahead.
Yes, Sean, thanks. Yeah, I think, you know, especially in step 1, when we were talking about building the team and who's on it, making sure that you've got your district governor and your district governor-elect, your district governor line on that team, because, you know, when the district governor makes their official visits, it's a impactful moment for the district governor to be talking to the clubs about membership, because every club tells the district governor, hey, we need help with membership. And if the district governor can come back and say, we have some very tangible tools that you can use to strengthen and grow your membership, and one of them is the innovative club models, that's a great thing to be able to do, because the district governor can come back to the ICA and say, hey, I went to XYZ club, talk to them about membership. They like the idea of an innovative club, and they'd like to talk to you, the ICA, and your team.
Excellent. Tracy, I see that your comment there about Discover Rotary. I think that's well said. Anybody else that was on a team want to throw out 2 cents worth?
From my experience of helping with the launching a satellite club a couple of years ago, I think it's important to have 1 or 2 seasoned Rotarians on the leadership team for the new organization. Because you want to
Great
make sure you're continuing that Rotary legacy, and that knowledge base is going to be, what's the word, planted in the new group to make sure that that knowledge is transferred and at the essence of the club.
Great word. Patrick Longano, I saw your hand up once and then it's back down again. Did you still want to contribute something to that?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Andy, I see your hand up. Feel free. Please unmute yourself. There you go.
Thanks, Sean. One of the things I think that we found to be most important was building that team and having the team to be able to identify different opportunities throughout the district and making sure that they were well represented throughout that area.
Well, it said Staples, I need a folder out of it, if you can reach
Yeah,
it.
that's actually a good segue. I will represent to this group that when we were having these discussions, one of the parts that we maybe didn't realize or acknowledge until about the second time we got together was that we were starting from different points. And anybody that was in that group will probably start to nod their head a little bit, or maybe even if you weren't in that group, you'll nod your head a little bit. That some of us were coming from the perspective of having been more successful or less successful at doing this than others. There were some that had multi-member committees. There were some that represented districts that were a committee of one. Just a quick show of hands, especially since we're now in the pets season and we're starting to pivot from 23-4 to 24-5. How many of the district's ICAs are still a committee of one? Anybody? Yeah. Andy, you speak to that very well. Can I pick on you for a minute?
Absolutely.
How's that working for you?
As you can imagine, about as well as being district membership chair as a committee of one. It's near impossible as a committee of one. It's just it's difficult to know what's needed in the different areas. I mean, I can look at maps and say, oh, we don't have one in this geographical area, but not knowing what the makeup of that area is and what possibilities are, it's not working well. So I am working on building my committee.
Yep, good. Well, at least you acknowledge that and you're working on it. Chris, I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to Andy that if you use the Grow Rotary tool, the Grow Rotary tool gives you all the demographic information. So growrotary.org.
Yes. And speaking of tools, I see there's a comment from Tracy about does the zone have resources for examples of bylaws? And Chris gave the answer I would have given. Ask Terry Weaver. So Terry Weaver, who our Rotary coordinator happens to be on the call, would you like to speak to that inquiry there from Tracy Lego?
Did I understand that to be bylaws?
The message in the chat is precisely, do we have resources also on the zone level for examples of bylaws for the different innovative club types that clubs can Rotary R&D? Seems to be a common question.
If you just pop open the zone site and type bylaws into the search, everything's there for you.
There you go. Dana Orsini, you had that question recently as well. Did you ever come up with a different answer that you liked as well, or did you follow what Terry just suggests as being the lead?
Yeah, just follow Terry. I'm learning how to do this.
Aren't we all?
Just follow Terry is a good start.
Anybody else want to speak to the quote unquote steps, if you will? I would love it if we turned this into a Google Doc today and we come back here, congregate in 29 days, and it looks completely different because everyone has just been busting at the doors to go in there and add their 2 cents to it and enhance it and make it better. And hopefully we all have a product that we can use. I mean, we're certainly not going into this thinking that we're creating something that is not going to be worth much or that's easily ignored or that's not necessary. Because if anybody on this call has a better idea that's working for them, I'd love to hear what it is. I think everybody on this call would. So any more thoughts about that? Sandy, Morkel, you're smiling an awful lot. Do you already have a plan to solve all the world's ICA problems or no?
No plan. I'm just really listening so that I can understand better and help support the efforts.
Cool. Terry, I see your hand again, sir. Please.
Thank you. What worked for me as a first generation ICA in our district was basically just building a small team. I think I had 5, maybe 6 at the outside, assistant ICAs, shall we say. And we met on a monthly basis. We each had account assignments in the form of clubs that had expressed even a passing interest. So each person had 2 or 3 clubs that they were working on. And the monthly meeting certainly contributed to the accountability on that. And we just kind of helped each other and coached each other. And when we found a club that, finally thought about it and decided they didn't want to do it, we just move on and see if we could find a couple more. So it was basically about prospecting and then follow up to make sure that we got them on a track to accomplish the things they needed to accomplish to set a club up.
Terry, can I pick on you a little bit? When you say assistant ICAs, were those identified and implemented in the way geographically, topically, based on some other skill set or point of emphasis, or what exactly? Can you share that with us?
Yeah, they followed what's become my personal favorite district team structure. Everybody's a free agent. So if we happen to have somebody, if we happen to have somebody close to a club or that had some knowledge of a club or knew somebody in a club, we'd assign them there. You solve a lot of problems if you break out of assigning things geographically or area wise or whatever. If you have a team of club assistance team, for example, if you just treat all 6 or 8 or 10 of those as roving agents and helpers, it's a whole lot more effective than if you tie yourself into something, say by area, for example. And what happens there, just to be clear, is if you make a mistake, if you select a person in an area that is just clearly unable to deliver on the mission, you're kind of stuck. Now you got to fire somebody. Much simpler if that person's part of your team and has demonstrated 2 or 3 times that they just don't have the right stuff, you just don't deploy them any further. Likewise, if life happens to somebody in an area, then you're, aging parent situation or a child situation or whatever, you're out of business for 4 to 6 weeks with that person. So I'm just really a proponent of let everybody loose and but give them specific assignments as the prospects show up.
Got it. Patrick, you've been very patient. I see your hand up, sir. Please.
That is not a word that is generally used to describe me. So thank you. I appreciate that. My concern on this, Sean, is that the confusion, some of the confusion that might stem out of it. I'm a big, if you vary the procedure, you'll get varied results. I've been doing this now for 3.5, 4 years. I've consistently done the steps. That's something that we've done. And the reason why it's been successful, besides all the people that are on here that have helped me, is that we do it the same way every single time. And I'm afraid that if we start pushing this 5 or 6 step program now, it's going to get people confused with the steps that I'm doing in Impact. And then is it a 6-step program? Is it a 4-step program? Is it this or this? So we probably need to decide, how we want to go about it. And if we're going to adopt a portion of, what I've been doing, which is totally fine with me, but, it's just kind of, my concern is that we could get, I'm looking 3-4 months down the road when I'm talking to somebody and go, no, I was talking to somebody else and they told me it was 6 steps. You know what I mean? And this is something I've been doing for a while. So I'm very concerned about that portion. I've offered countless times on this exact call, anybody that's interested in learning those steps, and I would actually set them up. And it's not just for Impact. I've been helping Map Companion, right? I've been helping any kind of companion club that's out there, satellite club. And it's important to do the paperwork. And that's a big part of ours as well. I know when I first got to doing this, there were several people who said, don't do the paperwork for RI. It doesn't bring anything. But to me, unless you have that data, how do you know if satellite clubs and companion clubs are really working if you don't know how many are out there? You know what I mean? So the only way you have to know to get out there is how many applications that Rotary International gets. So I'm just a little concerned about that. So as we go along in that, if we can, if I can ask you guys to kind of assuage my concerns with, getting two very big things that are going to be using steps now, and officially calling them that, to get confusion, because it's going to cause, I think it might cause a little bit of extra work on both parts. So that's all I got to say about that. I appreciate all the efforts that got put into this, and we'll just keep on rocking.
If I could, let me ask you a question, because that's more than the first time that I've heard you say that. Is it where you come from that you're blessed with there being more than one team that's ready to go and help a club build something new, that with options there could be confusion, versus Andy Young in her district, which is not that far from yours, wishes she had that problem, because if anybody comes calling and asks for help, Andy's the only one in place that can respond and offer it.
Well, I appreciate that sentiment, but I would probably say, besides Al DeLucia on this call, we're the only ones who are really pitching it in Zone 33. Now everybody talks about it, and that's great. Appreciate Patrick Geeks, Terry Weaver, and Chris Jones, and you when you go out to these things talking it up. But actually walking people through the steps, I believe Al and I are the only ones that do that. So I'm not, we don't have this whole team that does this. Whatever steps you guys decide to do is great. I mean, I'm a fold in with that. I love it. But the beauty of any steps is that it's done the same way, whether it's down here with Andy or over there with Stan Keeler or down there with Al. Everybody, if you do it the same way, that way anybody can step in, know exactly where you are in the process, and continuously walk the people through. That's how we do it in business. We all do that in business. You do A, then you do B, then you do C, and that sort of thing. So I'm not saying my steps are right. I've just been using those because they've worked for me. I'm just concerned that we don't want to have two separate sets of steps out there. If we're in there just to make sure that people don't get confused.
Let me ask you a different question, which
Yes,
might
sir.
be the same question, just a different way.
Okay.
On that sheet that I had up on the screen, it talked about not even getting to step 3 until you determine what kind of new entity you are curious about creating or would best fit the circumstances. If you get to step 3 on that sheet and realize that the best thing that's going to work in Club ABC is impact, and then it be handed off to impact specific personnel and steps, does that avoid the confusion that you're talking about or not? Because at step 1 or step 2 on this Microsoft Word document, you don't even know that what you're going to do is impact or companion related yet.
Yeah, but the great part about the steps, if you make them universal, they're good for anything. So you can train Rich, who doesn't need any training. I mean, Rich Long does the deal, you know what I mean? But if you've got the same steps for whether it's a companion club or a true satellite club or a cause-based club or anything, the same steps are used for any of those things. The type of club doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? It's walking the people through the process of doing something. You know what I mean? You want to talk about the main objective, and the whole reason actually that I wound up doing the steps was an ICA call when we looked at the spreadsheet and we had so many yellows, and Patrick Eakes goes, and this was the greatest challenge on the planet. I loved when he did this. He's like, how do I get these yellows to green? We got X amount of months to do it, basically. You know, I mean, that's how I heard it. And I was like, yeah, how do we do that? How do we walk these people through and cross the finish line? So it's not the types of clubs, Sean. It's the steps themselves. Doesn't matter what types of clubs. Everybody on this call is talented enough to, when they're meeting with a club, they have the whole plethora of menus. What would you want to see in your club? They might tell you that they want a cause-based companion, and you're like, fantastic, let's go straight through the steps to get you taken care of. That's the key to it. I think that's that back end of it that people, really don't see, that that's what it's about. It's not about the type of club.
Okay. Rich, you got your hand up as well.
Yeah, listen, I love where we're going with the steps, because one of our important partners, acronym is DG. If I'm a DG, in the year that I'm serving as DG, I'm drinking from the fire hose. I need the Reader's Digest version on practically everything. I want to know how many at level 4, how many at level 3, how many at level 2. Give me a number. Okay, I'm either writing it down or I'm making a mental note. And then when we talk a few weeks later, okay, how many 4s, how many 3s, how many 2s, how many 1s? What is that number? So I want to throw that out. But the other thing, the question, I want to go back to the team. I don't think any of us are a team of one, and this is my opinion. Our team as an ICA, at the very least, is anybody on the district membership team. Tracy Lego, wave your hand, Tracy. Tracy is a dedicated member of our ICA team, as is Campbell Pendleton, as is Neva Lind. Okay, anybody. So the very least, if we're not utilizing the ambitions and the talents and the enthusiasm of the district membership chair, and at least one other, I think we're maybe missing out. So again, I think we do have a team. We just got to utilize them. Thanks for listening.
Well taken. Hugh, you've been waiting patiently as well. Your hand's up next, sir.
My only question is that, Patrick, I don't know where to find your process to be able to share. And I think one of the things Sean and that group is trying to do is to come up with something that we will share to all of the district membership chairs, to all the district governor chain, so that they've got that guide. And I haven't found it. I mean, I may be missearching, but I think Sean is really trying to get something that we can share and not just share verbally or only if you reach out to a particular person. That's my thought.
Well, Hugh, I appreciate that. I have offered it on multiple occasions. I've offered it on here multiple times to walk individuals not only through the steps, but have them come on and observe how, because it's not just written down. I can give you a piece of paper of my 4 steps, but unless you realize what goes in and what you say to the person or that's representing the club, unless you hear the objections that come up, unless you hear the boards that say, here's the reasons why we don't want to do that, unless you experience that, the words on the piece of paper don't matter, or you won't get as big of a percentage of people to do that. So on this call, on multiple occasions, I have invited, and there's several people on this call who have partaken in that. They can come on any step 1 call with me. They can go on any step 2. They can follow a club all the way through the process. No problem at all. I've offered that a million times because, frankly speaking, I get a little tired. So I would love to have 20 people out there. I could take Tracy Lego, who was in the same business that I was in, and I got a lot of respect for Tracy. I mean, he's a membership guy, man. I just really like the way he does it. But if I gave him a piece of paper, he probably could do it, but he would be smart enough to say also, hey, look, let me observe you real quick so I can kind of get those word tracks if the club says this, or if the club says that. Where are you going with that? Oh, okay, cool. And once you're walked them through first time, Tracy's booking meetings all day long and closing. Tracy, raise your hand if you thinking I'm correct. Yep. So that's the key. I can give you a piece of paper with 4 steps, 5 steps, 6 steps, whatever steps you want. It's what goes behind that that's the important part. And I will show anybody can sit in. I'll have 10 of you on a call if you'd like. That's not a problem.
Okay. Andy, I picked on you enough, but then I saw your hand go up. So honestly, if you have something else to say, it's not because I'm picking on you, it's because I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, it did go up. I just took it down. Thanks, Sean. Yeah, one thing I wanted to bring up, because I've looked at and sat through Patrick with, going through that process, and so I'm familiar with that. But one thing that differentiates what this group is trying to do here with the product that we put out is this is more for the district rather than a club has identified a need and a way they want to go. Where the 4-step process, Patrick, is a club has said, hey, we want to start an impact club. We want to start a satellite club, where we're starting at the district level, looking from bigger picture inside the district going, hey, here's an area that's short, or here's an area that all the clubs currently meet at lunchtime. Maybe they could use a breakfast club or an evening club. So I think that's why there were more steps built into the process that was shown earlier.
Well said.
Could I ask
All
a
right.
question, Sean?
Of course, Michael, go ahead.
Yes,
Sir.
so fellow Flamingo. Well, first of all, I just want to say to Chris Justice, we know it's you, even though you've got your secret witness lighting on. We can tell that that's you back there. Secondly, just a curiosity, Patrick Langano, the steps that are laid out by Sean, do those have any relationship with the steps that you follow for a new club? Is there a way to integrate kind of your steps into that process or not?
Whatever everybody wants. I'm here for the team. If that's the way that we want to go, I'll be more than happy to.
It's funny, you've invented a wheel, and just wondering whether how much I guess I honestly don't know how much semblance there is between the wheel you've invented and the wheel that Sean's inventing.
Well,
and if there's
let me
synergy
say
between the
this,
two.
Mike. First of all, you give me too much credit at it being my wheel. This is designed to be our wheel.
Our wheel.
I'm
Okay.
very much just the guy with one of the tools in my hand. Second of all, I will say that Patrick was one of the people that met with us, and we were intentionally not duplicating his steps, only because, to Andy's point, these steps are all encompassing of every kind. And I know that Patrick says, well, once we dig in, we can figure out if you want to build something else. This is kind of, I thought, the inverse of this, and maybe we're approaching it not the right way. But this is let's find out who wants what, and then go figure out what should be. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
As opposed to knowing out of the gate what you want and then go and building it. This is something needs built. Let's figure out what it is.
Yeah. And that's usually what's going to it right now. I mean, it's not about impact at all. If anybody's heard my pitch over the past 6 months, a year, it's more towards companion, and whatever you can dream up, we can help you do.
Right.
If somebody wants a Rotary club or a companion club of an environmental companion club, like a cause base, is a statement of the home club that this is something that we care about and our community cares about it. A cause-based club, in my opinion, is stronger if it's attached to a parent club, a companion, as you will. So I believe that the companion portion is the biggest thing that will come out of this. So it's whatever you want to do, but the steps work with it. So I'll be glad to continue to keep working with you guys. I just want to make sure, like what Andy's saying, this is more for the district, but then we were just talking on that thing. We're not sure what the club left. So if this is just a white paper for the district, that's great. But if it's going to be circulated among the clubs, I just don't want the I'm scared about maybe some of the confusion that might go into that, and not knowing the reason behind each one of those steps. So that's all I was bringing up. Didn't want to cause any drama or anything like that. I'm just was asking.
Anybody else have any more thoughts, or have we beat this horse enough tonight, you think? Yeah, look at all the head nods. Yeah, right on. That's enough, Sawyer. No more.
Hey, I was just curious, doing maybe these two things that what Pat's talking about in this document, for the purpose of terminology. Pat's calling them steps, and that's great. But maybe we ought to call ours action item rather than a step, so the two don't get confused. Would that help?
I don't know.
I see Pat nodding his head a little bit there.
That's an interesting suggestion, Mark. One we've not yet heard, I don't believe.
And maybe that would help with the confusion.
Well, we don't want to cause confusion. The idea is to make this better, not worse, for sure.
Granted.
Anybody else have any other comments they would like to share? If not, I think it would behoove all of us to give our illustrious director-elect, Patrick Eakes, an opportunity to address us all, if he would be so inclined. Sir?
I can be inclined if you'd like, sure. No, I appreciate the collaborative nature of this process, trying to develop something not only that has lots of input, but lots of buy-in, and hopefully will be a useful tool for all of our districts. We know that we have a need to create new clubs. We know that our communities need new clubs. And I think anything we can do that will help us as a collective team get those clubs formed is going to be a good thing. And I think that includes this document, the tool that's being created. And I think it helps, also includes helping districts build out teams and not trying to work solo on this. Most of our districts have got some pretty good land mass. Some of them are quite large, where we really do need teams. We need people who are available across the entire district. So I applaud what all of you are doing and all the contributions in this call and since the last call to get a good piece of collateral put together that'll be helpful for this effort. And other than that, all I would say is we got 4 months left this year. We still have a chance to really move the needle, and I think Terry would agree, particularly as we've had good weeks here over the last few weeks, that somewhere around break even, maybe even a small gain for the year is still within reach. But it'll take both sides of the membership coin working well, meaning our traditional membership efforts on attraction as well as creating new clubs. So looking forward to seeing that.
Thank you, Patrick. And if I may just tag something very briefly onto the end of that, June 30 and July 1 is sort of arbitrary in the sense that we don't all take a collective exhale on June 30 and then get ready to start doing something new on July 1st. That turn of the calendar page, if you will, should be seamless. We should be working as hard in July as we are in June, as we do in December. They should all feel the same, and they should all be pointing in the same direction. And I've heard a lot of discussion about, even my own mission, the last third, and July 1's coming, and this and that. That's supposed to be a good day, not the apocalypse, folks. So let's just keep doing what we're doing in the meantime and press through like there's really no transition at all. Chris, you've got your hand up as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something to what you and Patrick both said. And, membership is it's not a drive opportunity, meaning that we don't only attract folks during certain times of the year. It's got to be constant. We're a membership organization that provides service in our communities. Service is our product. And the reason that we want to drive more membership is so that we have more people, more hands to do all the work inside of our communities. Not that any of us on this call are competitive, right? Shake your heads yes if you're competitive. Not that we're competitive, but we are like running neck and neck with another zone of being number 2. And if we can push really hard, we can get up to number 2 or number 1. Let's be honest. Most of our growth comes out of this team. This team is our growth team. New clubs is where our growth comes from. And while our traditional clubs do a lot to grow membership, the majority of our growth year after year comes out of the new clubs that we start. And with the flexibility that we have and the opportunities that are in front of us to create clubs that meet the needs of our members where they are now, we have an opportunity to finish this year very strong.
Right. Absolutely. And if I may add 2 cents more to what you said as well, Chris, keep in mind that, as Chris said, the fastest way to growth is creating new clubs. That's not to say that it's better than any other way. That's not to take the place of any other way. But, you know, we've experienced our struggles this year. We know that. We've seen what the numbers are. We're just trying to figure out how to get back to where we were. And if the tool that we've been talking about tonight helps us do that, then it's a good thing. If we spend time creating this tool and we find out that it's a bust, that's a tall stack of stuff. We can put this thing over on top of that stack and look toward the next tool that hopefully will benefit us. So I will make sure that this document is created. I'll make sure that there's a link to it put in the recap email that you can all count on seeing here in the next few days, as you normally would. And if anybody's got any questions, reply all to that. Let's get the word out there. This is designed to benefit all of us all at once. We don't have to wait every 30 days before we share good ideas with each other. Terry, you've got another question, sir, please.
Just a note, folks, on where we actually are. We are only 160 members off the lead for North America. 160 members. We have over 900 Rotary clubs. If it's just a drop kick, we simply need to get the clubs actualized. And we're only 250 members off the success track. If we got there, which we never have done before, if we got to that success track, we'd be absolutely assured of finishing this year not only positive, but positive strong. It just doesn't take that much.
Well, that's very encouraging. I didn't realize we were that close. It's hard to appreciate that when you look at the bar graph, but hearing that as a number, that's my goodness. That just means each one of us needs to go out and find 6 new people, and we'll be set, Terry. That'd be outstanding.
There you go.
There you go. So I have 5:49 in the PM. So if it's all right with everybody, let me just run a few bits of housekeeping past you in the form of some important dates that are some sooner than later from now. The next MAP Membership Action Plan webinar is on Monday, March the 11th at 6:00 PM. And the mantra will be survey says. How to survey your members, transform your club, and become irresistible. The next monthly DMC call is on the 3rd Monday of the month, which this month is the 18th at 5 PM, led by your Rotary coordinator, Terry Weaver. The Zoom formation call is on the 1st Monday, which will be April Fool's Day. I guess you could play a trick on Jeremy and not show up, although I don't know that he would appreciate that, but assuming you'll be there, that call starts at 1 o'clock. And then this call next month, the first Tuesday, will be on April 2nd at 5 PM. So with that said, 50 minutes in and out. I appreciate everyone's discussion and contributions and continued dedication, some of which you may be aware of and willing to give, some of which may be pulled out of you by others on this call. But either way, it is welcomed and it is thanked and appreciated. And I hope you all take care, be safe. If you haven't had pets yet, have a good one. If you have, you made it. Now you can start worrying about your district conference and what's next. So I will see all of you in a month, if not sooner. If you need anything from me, you know how to find me. Take care of yourselves. And that's a wrap.
And don't forget the Zone Summit.